to Previously on X-Men, the podcast that looks at X-Men comics, movies, shows, characters, and more. I'm Hilary.
Hi, Hilary. I'm Eric.
Hi, Eric. And today we're doing the animated series episodes Secrets Not Long Buried and Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler.
Do you have a favorite out of these two, Eric?
I guess it's Nightcrawler.
Yeah. Yeah, well, let's start with Secrets Not Long Buried.
Sure, let's do it.
Okay. So this is a Cyclops episode, yet another. Seems like we've had kind of a lot of those.
Yeah, he had like one or two after Jean died, and then they, here we go.
Because we had the stuff with his dad.
Yep, he had his dad, and he had where he went back to the orphanage.
Right, yes. Now that was a different, because in this, doesn't it seem sort of like he's in the orphanage in his flashback?
Yeah, there's a lot of flashbacks.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I guess let's start with how it starts.
Okay.
So in the very beginning of this episode, Cyclops is looking for this Dr. Prescott person. He's talking to Xavier in a little individual plane thing flying over a desert, I guess. Seems kind of Arizona.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like he's actually talking to him. He's leaving him a message.
Maybe he's leaving him a voicemail.
Yeah.
He didn't tell anyone he was leaving.
Doesn't seem like something you need to do.
Well, maybe it's sort of like a diary thing. He's just checking in.
It just seems like you could psychically be like, hello, Professor
Xavier.
I'm going somewhere. And Professor Xavier would be like flushing the toilet, be like, oh, okay, great. Thanks for letting me know, Scott.
Doing anything.
I'm not in the toilet.
Of note.
So.
But he's finding this Dr. Prescott guy. And I guess this message, whatever it is basically to catch us up on who the heck Dr. Prescott
is. Which is good because there's a lot of original characters in this episode, in this show.
Yes. And Dr. Prescott, I guess, is somebody from Scott's past.
In the orphanage, it seemed like?
Kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it seems to go way back to when Scott was a kid. He somehow knew this Dr. Prescott guy. But also, he likes mutants, and he brought a couple of kid mutants to Xavier like a few years ago, I guess. It's unclear. And has also started a town. It feels like that part of it is very like undersold. Yeah. Like it's just sort of half mentioned, but he's started this whole like civilization that's entirely.
He started a town that's mutants and humans, or is it just?
Oh, are humans there too? I think it's just mutants.
Okay, but Prescott is a human.
Prescott, I think, is human.
Okay, yeah, and if you remember, this one was also out of order. This episode, because it aired in 1996. But it was not supposed to air, so it aired a year later. Maybe it didn't seem like Cyclops back to back to back when you were airing them separately.
Yeah, that's sort of how I was feeling about it this time. I was sort of starting to be like, maybe I sympathize a little bit with them changing the order.
You know,
in hindsight.
This was written by Mark Anspaugh, but it's very much like somebody who doesn't write for the show normally came in and had like an episode idea, which would also maybe explain why there's like 4 original characters in this episode.
Yeah, it does sort of feel like someone wrote a short story and they decided to use it as an episode.
I've got this cool like modern western about a bunch of people that try to, and then a lone gunman comes in. But I mean, I guess we get a fun episode with Cyclops in his vest.
Yep, good times with the vest. Good times all around.
It's a fun look for Cyclops.
He knew he was going to like a small town in the West somewhere.
Yeah.
So he dressed appropriately.
He sure did. His plane gets shot down by Watchdog,
who is literally a dog. Like he's a dog
person,
dog-faced boy, I guess. Like he's a dog.
He sounds like a child, yeah. Original character, not from the comics.
I wondered. I was like, I don't know if they go this far.
That's such an extreme design to be an original character in this show. Yeah,
well, I guess maybe like planning to do like a town full of mutants. Maybe they just decided to kind of go for it, you know?
Maybe. I guess they've used a lot of stock characters before. I mean, in this episode, you see a couple of you see an Acolyte from the comics. You see some of the Morlocks, like you see Sunder at one point.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just Watchdog is just such a boom. I'm a giant bulldog.
I am a dog.
Yeah.
But he comes up in this, like, weird the design of the thing that he's in, it's
Yeah.
like a watchtower, sort of, but
Yeah,
it,
he's
like, goes into the
watchdog.
ground, and it's just this weird I mean, it sort of does feel like a Southwest
Yeah.
vibe, I guess, of the
Yeah. Let's
design, but
assume he's in Utah.
he's in
Yeah, he
Utah.
didn't say where he went. I'm gonna assume it's Utah or I don't know, Arizona.
I think Arizona
Okay.
with the kinds of geology and crap, whatever's going on
Okay.
there. But he appears to be this dog guy
Uh-huh.
appears to be employed by somebody because he's,
Yeah.
like, reporting it to someone who tells him to shoot down Cyclops, and he has some sort of telepathic ability because he hears the name Prescott, and they are concerned that he has this name Prescott in his brain.
Mhm.
And he also seems to, because Scott crashes, and when he wakes up, he doesn't have his powers anymore.
Mhm.
And so that seems to be something that has been done to him.
Get one of those glimpses of his eyes so that we know he doesn't have his powers, but he still wears his sunglasses.
I love that he said something about, like, his glasses are missing, at the
Yeah.
beginning, but then when he decides to start moving, he just pulls out a spare
Yeah.
from his pocket.
So Cyclops goes to the town. Nobody is telling him a straight answer about Prescott.
Yeah, everybody seems really cagey and weird, and, like, Cyclops has been invited to this town, Skull Mesa,
Mhm.
by Dr. Prescott, and so
Yeah.
he's like, "What the heck?
Yep.
I mean, I know he was here when he invited me,
Yeah.
and now everybody's acting like he doesn't exist."
It seems like the problem is this guy, Solar, who I'm pretty sure he showed up as a Captain America villain first time and ran into some other characters, but I don't know if he has like any real connection to the X-Men ever.
Yeah, and he seems to just like his deal seems to be that he and these bros
Yeah.
were like running from something, maybe they committed a crime or something and are now sort of taking over this town. So again, it feels very Western.
Mhm.
These villains are like not from the town,
Right.
but they took it over.
Yeah.
And they just initially are sort of like going after Scott and being like, "Well, I would hate for something to happen," kind of vibe. Very threatening.
Yeah. It's another original character. I can't remember his name. I think he can just go intangible.
Yeah, the guy with the hat.
Yeah. And Toad.
Kind of an old school design for Toad,
Yeah.
too.
It's just kind of funny to have like here's a bunch of original characters and Toad.
Toad is also here.
Toad. And so yeah, they're bullying Cyclops. And then Cyclops figures out that Prescott is being held unconscious underground and that he built this town over a gold mine.
Yeah, he wanted it to be self-sustaining, and so he built it on a gold mine, and they all, like, mine it,
Yep.
and, like, they made a point of saying that, like, they would only mine so much that they could be, like, happy, but they weren't gonna, like, overmine
Yep.
it or
I
whatever.
don't understand how these three characters are a problem for a whole town of mutants.
I know, and, like, Cyclops, the first person he meets is Daryl Tanaka,
Yeah.
who is driving, and he's the doctor in town, and so Psych goes, like, really intense accusatory with him and is like, "Well, what's going on?"
Mhm.
And he just Tanaka just talks about how everybody's scared of these people and they're not soldiers, and, like, okay, you're not soldiers, but you also all of you have intense powers
Yeah.
that you could be using, but okay, the idea is that
Yeah.
they are all just people who are here because they wanna live normal lives,
Mhm.
and they don't have it in them, I guess, to fight back against these 3 guys.
Yeah, it just seems like three of these mutants in this town could take on the others. Like Tusk,
Yes. I mean, they
Sunder's
just
there. They have a whole group just work. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
anywho.
I think it's a divide and conquer kind of a thing because the bad guys, Braddock and his dudes,
Yes.
it seems to be that they would sort of like target individuals who were
Yeah,
like
I guess
a
that's it.
little against them and then like disappear them
Mhm.
and then everybody else wouldn't even try. So I think it was kind of like a scare tactics kind of a
Mhm.
situation. But then they keep like kidnapping Cyclops and then letting him go.
Well, they
and
let
then
after he
taking him again.
after he sees Prescott, they let him go because they're like, what's he gonna do now? He doesn't have powers. Nobody's gonna help him. It's
Yeah.
He can't go anywhere, and it seems like their goal is like Cyclops just keeps going to different houses, like he's Lincoln trying to get the votes,
Yeah.
and
Excuse me, sir.
He's not getting support. So then they just stand by the fences and be like, oh, what's that city boy? Can't get anyone to help you? and then like
yeah, it's pretty much that.
Cyclops keeps having flashbacks to Prescott and growing up and constantly regretting. He's like, oh, I used to curse my powers and now I need them.
Yeah, that's a neat little thing.
And then he has this moment out on the I guess the sunrise, the sunset. The sun is doing something where Cyclops is just like, I'm an X-Men, gosh darn it, and I'm going to act like one. And so he's going to...
Even without my powers.
Yeah, or his team. It's still...
I'm just a
it seems
X-Man
like,
through and through.
It seems like he could mentally go, Professor, we've got a situation here. Can you send one other X-Men? That should be enough.
Yeah. He does talk a lot about how, like, all of the phones are out and, like, all this stuff. And that did actually not cross my mind that he could just sort of psychically...
Yeah.
I mean, or Jean?
Yeah.
Anybody.
Jean's around?
Whatever.
Send Beast. I don't care.
Doesn't cross his mind.
Beast hasn't had an episode in a while. Send him.
He's on a date.
Maybe. But then Cyclops stands up to the bad guys in front of a statue. No, they capture him.
No, they...
Again, you're right.
Again,
why? Yeah.
Because he tries to punch the intangible guy and falls through him.
He's an X-Men, gosh darn it.
Gosh darn it.
Yes, and then they...
Toad, in this thing, I don't know if this is a real thing, but he excretes stuff from his hands that is like sticky.
The sticky stuff.
So he keeps doing this.
Yeah, and he just covers Cyclops in it.
He covers Cyclops. And they take him to the statue. And it's a statue of the bad guy. What's his name? Solar, with 2 R's, according to the captions. And they take it to the statue, and they're like, okay, we're going to make an example of this dude. And he starts spouting all of this, like, conspiracy type stuff. Like, he's like, I told you that people would be coming to take over, and I was protecting you from these people, and here's a person who was going to come and attack you or whatever.
And then they start sticking up for him, and then... Tanaka gives Cyclops back his powers, and then they fight, and they win.
I do like, though, I like how defending him progresses, because you see more than the others, the Tusk guy is much more, like, conflicted. About, like, I should be doing something.
His power is that he's giant and has tusk and looks like a water buffalo, but also a little version of him pops out of his back.
What the heck was that? Because Tusk is a perfect name. You're looking at him and you're like, okay, he's a guy. He's got these things that look like tusks. So his name is Tusk. But yes, when the time comes that he decides he's going to defend Cyclops, a tiny version of himself pops out of his neck and attacks the guy.
Yeah. It definitely feels like something out of like Total Recall or something.
That was legitimately bizarre. But the thing that I liked about it was that he like broke free first. He was like, you know what? I got to do this. And he attacks to defend Cyclops. And then when people attack him, when they attack Tusk, then the next lady is like, oh, well, I should do something to defend Tusk. Like, she wasn't ready to defend Cyclops, but someone in her community is hurt, so she's going to do it. And then it's sort of a cascade from there. And I thought that was very realistic.
Yeah,
I like
this is Dr. Prescott's town. You mess with one of us, you mess with all of us.
You mess with all of us, baby.
Except if you mess with Dr. Prescott, we're still not going to do anything.
But the rest of them.
And then Cyclops and Prescott hang out, and I guess they're going to...
Yeah, because they're friends, right?
Yeah.
And they're gonna get ice cream, because like there was in the flashback, that Dr. Prescott got him ice cream, and so now it's like, oh, they're so cute, and that's the end.
So this is an episode that when I first saw it, I really liked because I thought it was like I thought it was a cool, like Cyclops spotlight, just like a Western vibe. I dug it, but every time I've watched it since, I like it less and less.
This is the first time I've seen this episode.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I have definitely not seen this one
before.
It
came out in 1996. You might have been, I don't know, doing whatever you did in 1996.
Boy.
You were 10, 11.
I was, that's not crazy.
Yeah, you moved on.
You know, I thought this was pretty boring.
Yeah, it's too bad because, like, giving Cyclops a standalone episode, like the idea is strong, or the concept is strong, I think. Like, Cyclops goes to a Western kind of town without his powers, but, like, there's so many
Yeah.
like plot holes, or like, why is this happening? Why are they doing this? And then you're right, it is just boring because it's just the same thing over and over again. It feels like an episode like the Batman animated series could do and do very well, but
Mhm.
not this episode didn't happen. And like the X-Men have done standalone character spotlights like this. But
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's Cyclops. I don't know, because the No Mutant is an Island episode wasn't great.
Yeah. I mean, I think you end up when you focus on Cyclops in this iteration of
Mm-hmm.
Cyclops, you do end up with kind of an overload of his like sanctimonious
Yeah,
shouting at people, and it kind of gets a little
I think it's
grating.
just because it's not saying anything about Cyclops necessarily that we haven't heard before. So it
Yeah.
would have to be like a just a cool episode. And I think the fact that you've got these original characters and you've got the villain being Solar with two R's, it's just not as interesting than if it was somebody with a connection to the X-Men, or
Yeah.
just a stronger villain, or I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of wish that they'd gone further in either direction. Like make it more of an actual X-Men episode
Hmm.
or really lean into the Western stuff
Yeah.
because it was very clear that was what they were doing.
Hmm.
Like you have high noon stuff happening with him walking onto the
Yeah.
main street. And I mean, it's very, very clear
Hmm.
that that's an idea they're going with, but they don't really go for it. Like there's nothing with the soundtrack that makes it feel like it. There's nothing you know what I mean? Like, I feel like if they had been like, "This is the X-Men
Hmm.
as a Western," like, just do it.
Yeah.
That could have been interesting.
Yep.
But it was just sort of meandering through the motions of Cyclops trying to find this guy
Yeah.
that I guess he cares about.
Eric Lewald says this it's based on the movie Bad Day at Black Rock, but I don't know. Yeah, it's just missing
Yeah.
things.
Oh,
And
well.
I liked it, gosh, at this point 23 years ago, and
Old.
yeah, and these days I'm just like, man, I wish I liked this episode.
Yeah, it's a
What are you
bummer.
going to do?
What are you gonna do?
Nightcrawler was
Nightcrawler.
aired May 13th, 1995.
Mhm.
Was written by Len Yule. Technically, Nightcrawler is the end of season 3.
The end of season 3?
Yes. And then season
Okay.
4, according to the book, and I'm pretty sure the Disney Plus layout and everything, A One Man's Worth Part 1 and 2 is going to be the start of season 4. So we
Okay.
have finished season 3 with the episode Nightcrawler. An episode I took much more notes than I did with Secrets Not Long Buried.
That's funny. I went the complete opposite
Oh.
direction. I wrote lots of notes for like all the crap that was happening in the first one, and in Nightcrawler, I have like half a page.
All right. Well, enter the mutant Nightcrawler.
Yeah, so this is the first time we see him in the animated series.
Yeah. He is voiced by Adrian Hugh, or Howe, I don't know.
Yeah, something.
But this actor, besides playing Nightcrawler in 3 episodes, he was in an episode of Smallville.
Oh.
He was in the movie Underworld Evolution. He was in some Stargates. He's had some small roles. He played Nightcrawler again in the X-Men Mutant Academy 2 video game.
Mm-hmm.
But the other fun thing is that he plays Jean Grey's dad in X-Men The Last Stand.
Yeah, you get to see his actual face.
Yeah, so another X-Men animated actor.
Did you know that he also voiced Alan Grant in the 2020 Lego special Jurassic World: The Legend of Isla Nublar?
That's funny.
He's Alan Grant.
Yeah.
You love him.
I do like Alan Grant, yeah. Do I love Alan Grant? Probably.
You love him.
Okay.
You want to be him.
Yeah. Yeah, he was in Supergirl and Legends of Tomorrow, but it's 2 different people. He was in Riverdale. So the CW got their hooks in him at one point.
They got their hooks in him.
He was in he was in 8 episodes of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
I haven't seen any of that. It's too spooky.
It is a little spooky. If demony kind of monstery stuff is too scary for you.
I don't love it.
Yeah. Anyway, so he's playing Nightcrawler.
So we start the episode with that classic like Germantown hunting.
Yeah.
Nightcrawler.
Another episode where we're in a town that doesn't seem like it would actually exist.
Yes.
2 in a row.
Right? Well, like they show the whole thing and then it turns out to be like right now, like this isn't a flashback. It's like this is happening and I'm like, "Really?
Mhm.
This Germantown with a castle and people carrying scythes.
Yeah.
This is a 90s town
Yep.
in Germany. And maybe it
Yep.
is. I don't know. I
I
don't know
don't
what
know.
rural Germany is like.
But yeah, it's the scene from Giant Size X-Men where he's being chased by them, and I always think like, well, just teleport. But he doesn't. He runs and stuff. And it's also kind of like when we get into the gist of the episode, like where we see where he is and everything, it's kind of like, well, what were you doing out there just snooping around?
Yeah. Just snooping around, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we see him get attacked, and he almost gets captured. He teleports. The sheriff of this town, or whatever you want to call him, has a laser gun. So everybody else has pitchforks,
for a second.
but he has a laser
about
gun.
This sheriff, he's like from the Crusades or something. He's like
everything about this town is just the kill the beast mob from Beauty and the Beast.
Yes, from that time period and everything.
Yep. So he teleports, and then he's like, forgive them, they know not what they do.
I know. I was
credits.
Watching it with my husband, and he says they know not what they do, and Nick was like, don't they?
Yeah, they know a little bit what they do.
Don't they know what they're doing? Seems like maybe they know what they're doing.
After the credits, open to Gambit complaining that they're on a ski trip because he's super bored.
They're on a ski vacation.
Gambit and Rogue.
What's it called? The
lodge.
The
ski lodge. Yeah, Gambit and Rogue are in there, and Gambit's just complaining. He's like, some fun. It's like, well, you're just sitting there. You're not skiing. And then it also is revealed that
make your own fun.
This date trip, this vacation date with Rogue and Gambit, Wolverine's with them?
Yeah, I want to know how exactly how that happened. Like, were they planning it in the kitchen and Wolverine sort of was like, I like skiing?
Yeah.
Kind of like forced his way into it, or like what happened?
Yeah, and he says, I'm not thrilled about this either. And Gambit's like, I didn't know we were going to have a chaperone. Yeah, who assigned Wolverine on this? Why did Wolverine say yes?
Seems like nobody wants it to be the way it is, except theoretically Rogue. But why
Rogue is here.
Would Rogue invite Wolverine?
I
get her planning a ski vacation. Setup. She likes to ski. She thinks it'll be romantic, whatever. Maybe it's like she doesn't want it to be too much like a romantic getaway, you know? And she's just sort of like, it's a friend's trip, see? Because our friend Wolverine is here.
Yep.
That's probably it.
Yeah. Anyway, Gambit leaves because he's upset at Wolverine, and then Rogue is like, are you happy? And Wolverine's like, I don't know the meaning of the word, but it's also like, well, Rogue, what? It seems like Gambit's being the problem here. I don't understand.
She can't
this
be
dynamic.
Mad at him though.
Yeah, that's true. I don't understand this trio's dynamic.
It's very confusing. Who should be there?
It's just Rogue and Gambit.
But like, if they were to bring someone, Beast, I feel like
Beast, Beast could happily be a third wheel and just be like, don't mind me, I've brought my books. That's
they probably just have it be Wolverine because he should be there with
or Jubilee, like Jubilee in her chaperone.
Oh yeah, that'd be cute.
But yes,
she wanted to go skiing and she can't go by herself, so they go with. Aww.
Wolverine hears some people talking about a demon, and he's like, "Whoa, what? Let me hear about that demon."
I'm gonna immediately latch onto this idea.
And so he gets Rogue and Gambit to go after a demon, but they're gonna ski there, even though they probably took a jet and Rogue can fly.
Well, she says that. I can't remember why they decide not to, but she's like, I could just fly us there.
Yeah,
but
I don't understand.
Want to? I don't know
why she chose skiing in the first place.
Because it's fun.
But anyway,
she seems to be pretty good at skiing, and Wolverine is good at skiing because he's Canadian, and that's just how it goes.
Oh, sure. Does that mean you're good at skiing?
No, I've never skied in my life.
Really?
So maybe I'd be amazing at it, but I've never tried.
It's in your blood.
It's in my blood.
Yeah, Gambit is bad, and it's funny because he's like, fine, we didn't ski a lot on the bayou.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, sure, yeah. When would he have had the chance?
He says he's a natural athlete.
Yeah.
And then he slides backwards down the hill and knocks himself into a tree.
So I kind of like this escalation because he gets knocked out, which is bad to hit a tree. He probably has a concussion, but his power hits, and then that causes an explosion on there. And I just thought that was there's two nice uses of his power in this episode. There's that whole tree thing, but also when he's at the ski lodge, we see a brief second where he uses his power slightly to heat up his coffee.
Yes, I didn't know he could do that.
I don't think he can.
Do you think it's coffee or do you think it's hot cocoa?
Maybe because it's a liquid, it's not the problem. It won't blow up.
Yeah, it just speeds up the molecules.
So anyway, there's a avalanche. Rogue saves them, but then they all get covered, and then somehow Wolverine, because he has claws, he's able to get through the snow.
Wolverine is fine, and Rogue, who is invulnerable, is knocked out completely, and her sleeves are torn off by this avalanche. So she's knocked out, but she wakes up in a monastery.
Yeah, and the monks are taking care of them, and then Gambit's still unconscious, but he's gonna be okay. So Wolverine and Rogue meet with the monks, and they're talking about God, and
like a lot about God.
Wolverine's just kind of like, ha, God,
whatever. Yeah, Rogue goes to check on Gambit, and someone's in there, like lurking around. Seems like he's attacking him or something.
Yes,
and then he throws something that causes smoke and then runs away, and Rogue goes after him.
And it turns out that she's after Nightcrawler.
I don't think she is after Nightcrawler. I think that she's after that guy, but then she starts to fall off something like...
Oh, that's right. She starts to fall off, and Nightcrawler doesn't know she can fly, so he goes to save her. And then they land and teleport, and he's like, I'm sorry, I didn't know you could fly. And Wolverine shows up and tries to kill him.
Wolverine is not cool, because that part where they're like fighting and they're not understanding whatever. But Nightcrawler is like, I don't want to fight. And he holds out his hand to shake. And Wolverine takes his hand to shake and then throws him into the wall.
Yep.
That is ungentlemanly behavior.
It's not cool.
That is not cool, Wolverine.
The monk runs in and says, no, you can't kill him. He is my brother.
Da, da, da.
Commercial break. Cut 2. He's like, what do you mean your brother? He's like, well, my brother in a spiritual sense.
He says, Eric, well, I mean, brother in an ecclesiastical sense.
Yes.
To this Saturday morning children crowd.
Not really my brother. We're all brothers here. Everybody's my brother. That's why you can't kill anybody.
Because he's a monk, I guess. Like I think he's saying that he's like a member of their order.
Yeah.
He's his monkly brother.
Yeah. Nightcrawler shares his origin story, and we see that he's at the circus, and I thought maybe that was supposed to be Amelia, his sometimes sister, sometimes girlfriend, but it might have just been a trapeze artist.
Who knows?
Gambit says about Nightcrawler, because everybody's always attacking Nightcrawler, Gambit says, no peace for the wicked looking.
And Rogue's like, not cool, man.
Yeah, and Nightcrawler's like, no, he's right, that's fair. I'm wicked looking and I have no peace.
Yes, this is the very churchy, like, not holier than thou, because he's pretty sincere about it. Yeah. But he's very, like, Jesus-y version of Nightcrawler in this one. He's not so much the charming, fun version.
Yeah, that seems to just be like other media. This and the movies tend to focus on that. And I'm pretty sure the movies, because we've learned that Bryan Singer, his main experience with the X-Men is from having watched this cartoon series. So if this is what he sees from Nightcrawler, then that's... But yeah, I mean, even when Nightcrawler starts becoming a more spiritual character in the comics, he's still a fun, jokey character. But this and the movies tend to just play on as like, no, I'm very sincere and very stoic and all this stuff. I don't know, because he's a bit more sincere and he's less guilt-ridden than he is in the movies, he comes across a little bit more comic accurate, because he's not just like, woe is me, I've carved tattoos into my skin for my sins. Like, this Nightcrawler's like, hey, welcome to the church.
Yeah, he just seems like a nice guy.
Wolverine, it's kind of, Nightcrawler's talking about how people are always after him and being a mutant and everything, and Wolverine's like, doesn't it just make you crazy?
Oh, my word, yeah. He, like, shouts that.
What a weird reaction from Wolverine. And Nightcrawler, talks to him about God and everything. And we kind of learn, I kind of put together from this that Wolverine, even now when people are like, oh, we here serve God, he's like, huh, God. It's not that Wolverine doesn't believe in God. He just doesn't think God gives a crap about anything.
Yeah, he has taken a cynical turn.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's necessarily that he's even like agnostic. It's almost like he does believe in God, but that God doesn't believe in them or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like God's a jerk.
Yeah, and where mutants God gave up on us a long time ago. Because at the end of the episode, we learned that Gambit, he's like, we're alone here. Life is life is random and everything. But Wolverine never seems to come from that part in this this episode.
Yeah.
It turns out the monk that tried to kill Gambit gets the town all riled up and tells them that he's in the monastery. So all the townsfolk come to the monastery and attack, and the X-Men there defend everybody, and Nightcrawler and the monk have a big fight, and he almost falls off. Monk. Yeah. And the bad monk is like, look what your sin has wrought, and Nightcrawler lifts him up and shows him that the whole monastery's library is on fire because this guy had been shooting everything and catching it on fire. And he's like, this is your deeds, not mine. He's like, no, what have I done?
Yeah, he has immediate repentance. So yeah. That's handy.
And then the town moves on, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't get a great handle on how the town was dealing with it. It seems like the whole, like the trauma, like the big dramatic thing of the monastery burning down seems to have kind of got everybody on the same page of like, okay, well, let's all work together to fix the monastery or whatever. And so they just sort of chilled out, I guess.
Yeah. I feel like the shadow design they're trying to go for on Nightcrawler's face does not work in animation.
No, it doesn't. It's a really it looks like he's got real weird scrunches.
Yeah, or it's like painted on or something. It's in the comics, like he's that way because when he's in shadow, he's supposed to almost be invisible in shadow, and his face is always kind of hidden in its own shadow. But yeah, in this, it really does look like he just tattooed his face. It doesn't work.
Animation in general is a lot rougher than it has been in the past. And I think that like, if you were going to do that successfully, you would have to have that shading shift as he moves. And they definitely don't care to do that. So it doesn't work.
Nightcrawler tells the X-Men that he was glad Wolverine says something like, see, look what God's done here. He's like, but he brought you here, and we were able to win the townsfolk over, and you can just rebuild a monastery and all this. And we was like, and Nightcrawler gives him a Bible with some passages highlighted. And then we cut to Paris with Gambit and Rogue's sad because
take their real vacation now.
Yeah, Rogue is sad because Gambit's like, life is random and everything, and Rogue's like, there's got to be something more than this.
And she gets hit flat in the face with a newspaper.
Yep, and then she sees Wolverine in a church reading one of the verses from the Bible that Nightcrawler highlighted, and then he's praying, and then Rogue cries, and the episode ends.
She's moved.
She's touched.
By Wolverine's new faith, I'm going to say.
I don't think it's new faith. I think it's Wolverine in general strikes me. He's been around long enough that I would assume at one point in his life he probably did try out the whole God thing and maybe church thing to try to like understand his life and everything, and then was just like, forget it, I've seen too much and it just can't work. And I feel like maybe at this point he's moved by the Nightcrawler thing, and it's going to give him some temporary solace because he's always trying to find peace in some way. But I don't think this is a lasting thing. I feel like this is like he gets back to the mansion and he moves on, and it was just a thing he tried out again this weekend.
Yeah. At the end of the episode, when he's doing the praying stuff, my son was like, is this going to like impact future episodes? And I was like, it is not.
Yeah, Wolverine's gonna be fighting Sabretooth. He's like, I don't want to fight you, I want to save your soul. I always see comments online or stuff like, oh, Wolverine's a Christian now, the time X-Men told us we all had to be Christians. Like, it's just Wolverine's been around for 100 years. This is not the first time he's tried religion. This isn't the first religion he's tried. He
lived in Japan for so long.
Yeah, he's just a character, and this show's version, like in the first season, he's always like, can't I ever have peace and everything? I think it's just this character who doesn't want to live a life of violence, but that's the life he has to live. And he's good at it and all that stuff. And I don't think it's trying to be like, look, Wolverine's a Christian now. I think it's more just like, Wolverine's trying, and it's not going to last.
Yeah. And the way that Nightcrawler talks to him about it, he does specifically say, like, people of all different faiths
Yeah.
believe in a god.
Or
So,
something,
like,
yeah.
maybe you should kinda
Yeah.
be open to that, you know?
Yeah. I like this episode more than I like the last episode for sure. I guess I like this episode in general for what it's doing. I think it's kind of impressive that this show got away with doing this story
Yeah.
back then.
It's just a lot more introspective than I
Yeah.
think a lot of
I mean,
kids'
I guess
cartoons would go for.
in America, getting away with doing a Christian episode probably isn't that big of a, you know what I mean?
Yeah, a big reach.
It probably wasn't a huge fight, but I don't know. To be so specific about it and everything. But again, at this point, Nightcrawler had experience with it, but again, it wasn't this level of like, you know, he wasn't a monk.
Yeah.
So
something that was interesting about it is I remember seeing this the very first, like, you know, the first time I saw it when I was a kid. It felt like I was watching a well-known character. And at the time, this would have been the first time I had seen
in the
him.
show, yeah. I mean, he was in Pride of the X-Men, but
yeah, but I don't think I had seen that.
Yeah, I think he's been in the video games and stuff because the video games were always based on the comics, and so he was in some of the Sega games and
yeah. So I don't know if I had just seen his character.
I know what you mean
before.
though, because the same thing happened to me. Like as a kid, I remember playing one of the Sega games and being like, "Oh yeah, that guy." But
right.
Where I would have known him from, I don't know.
It's got to just be because his design is so distinct.
Yeah,
but it does feel like he's just always been there.
At this point, though, also he wouldn't have been part of the X-Men team for quite a bit. He would have been hanging out with the with Excalibur for a good amount of years at this point.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. He starts because he's very prominent in Evolution and a little less prominent than Evolution in Wolverine and the X-Men. But yeah, he's another character. Him and Colossus just get these like 2-episode things when to me they're always much bigger.
Yeah, yeah.
But
yeah, I liked this one better than the failed Western. This was better. Oh, I didn't mention yet. Did you notice in the ski lodge? In the ski lodge, there were cameos.
Oh,
because you saw Mary Jane from the Spider-Man
yep,
animated series, and like it's not just a redhead because she's carrying a mug that has a spider web on it.
How fun!
So that's definitely her. And then if you look in the very back, Doctor Strange and Clea are against the window back there. And it's like definitely Doctor Strange.
That's funny. I did miss those.
To be there. Yeah, it was fun.
I don't like the whole ski stuff, but I guess once we get to this weird Beauty and the Beast town, it's slightly more visually interesting.
Yeah.
But
there's a lot of like darkness and action. Yeah.
Anywho.
So these were fine.
Yep. The end of this season.
Yep. So the next animated episodes we're doing are parts 1 and 2 of One Man's Worth. So that's going to be next time.
A time travel episode. Yeah, season 4, I remember liking One Man's Worth, so I'm hoping that happens again, because it didn't happen with Secrets Not Long Buried.
Yeah, what do you suppose Secrets Not Long Buried even means?
The secret is the gold?
The gold? Or like having hidden...
Prescott's the secret. Guy? He's not long been buried in the gold mine.
He was buried, but not that long.
Not that long.
That explains it. The next one that's coming out after this one, I'm going to be talking with Nick about Poison X. Do you know what this is?
That's a Venom, all new X-Men.
Venom, yes.
Yeah. Hilary is very close to doing Previously on Venom, a spin-off podcast.
So much Venom. I'm like on a tear. I have read like everything.
You haven't read any of the Agent Venom stuff, right? Like where Flash Thompson has the symbiote?
No.
Okay. So I've read
he's popped into this thing, but like he's not.
I've read all the solo Venom series from like from Lethal Protector to the end of Agent Venom, and I'm pretty sure what you've read is everything after Agent Venom.
So together
we have an almost complete Venom.
Oh my gosh.
Solo read, yeah.
Did you ever picture me?
No, this is weird.
This much Venom.
It's crazy.
I know.
So much Venom.
It's very unlike me.
And like the weird new stuff of Venom with like the King in Black and all like
I know
the other stuff. Yeah, you've read a lot of Colin Bunn that I have not read.
it's bananas. It's bananas. But anyway, we'll be talking about one of those runs for the next episode, so you can see how
that's what
how that goes.
That's what the time travel X-Men, the original 5, brought to the future.
Yes,
teaming up with Venom. Got it.
That is their gift to the future. That's the primary thing that they bring.
Yep. All right.
Okay, so that's it for this episode. Thank you to Prophetic Music for our theme song.
Thanks.
Previously on X-Men is brought to you by the Radio Meanwhile Network. Other shows on the network include 90s Music Got Me Like, This Endorian Life, and 9021 Here We Go. Follow us on Twitter or follow us on Twitter or Facebook at Previously on X. Please rate, subscribe, or share this show wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Were you doing like music under?
I was doing from the show, the banana, da da da.
Da, da.
Yeah.